Good morning from Grace House. We are back. Lovely of you to join us live. As always, let me know you're here because we've got a great lineup for you today. Before I do that, we are across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And what I need you to do is, I need you to share this, okay? I need you to click that little share button, like it, obviously, hack the algorithm and all that. Like it, share it, and hopefully we're going to reach a good audience this morning because we've got some great content. It's really difficult, for third sector charitable organizations during this pandemic because everything kind of slows down from fundraising point of view. So we need your help. And actually, from a fundraising point of view, we've got our Laura sitting in the green room here. What does Laura not know about fundraising? Probably about a decade worth of experience in this field. So we're going to bring Laura in soon. After Laura, we've got Chris Pretty, who's worked at Grace House since 2017, providing counseling. So we're going to hear from Chris. And then we're going to hear from Dan and Tracey, two of our parents from Grace House. Absolutely inspirational this will be, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then we've got Laura Hind talking about mindfulness, a mindfulness expert, something I think we all could enjoy at this time. And then we've got a Wellbeing journaling expert, Steve Watts. So we've got a great lineup today. Let me know if you're here. Throw something in the comments because we can pop your comments on screen and engage with us as well. We love it when we get a bit of engagement. It's great to see you all coming in to the live session right now. I can see the numbers coming in. Let me know you're here because we are across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now via Periscope. And of course, all these other little shares are happening right now. I might even watch on my own phone and just put the numbers up, just to kind of vanity metrics and all that. Right, I think we should bring our Laura in because I can see her in the green room smiling away at us. Let's see Laura. Come on, LJF, Laura Jane Forbes. Let's have you.
Morning.
So I just bring you in and you decide to set some alarms off at Grace House.
So the fire alarm has just gone off at Grace House. It is just a test that we do on a Friday morning. I thought it had been done already. Clearly it hasn't. So yeah, that is a fantastic start to the day. Loving it.
So even the fire alarms, bring you in. What a fabulous introduction. We've organised that for you.
Yes.
Right. Who we've got there? There's Nicola Hind saying hi, Laura. Didn't say hello to me, just you.
No.
He'll bring you in and they start coming in.
It is. It's my lovely mother-in-law. Hello, Nicola.
Oh, is it? Hi.
Yeah.
How lush is Laura? You've hit the jackpot there, eh? Hi, Julie. Oh, Julie's new here.
Ah, fab. Welcome, Julie.
Good. I love that. Let us know where you've found us as well. That's quite good for Laura. A little bit of feedback in terms of how you found us. That would be great. There's our Misha there, producer Misha, who's been doing all the work behind the scenes for us.
Do you know what? Misha has done an absolutely brilliant job because this looks fab. So thank you very much, Misha. I know you're the real boss.
She's a rock star.
That's the thing.
I know who the boss is, I tell you. I know who the boss is. Actually, do you know what it is? In terms of making this all work and all look lovely, I was just creating a little link earlier on. And Laura's a fundraiser, right, everyone? In typical fundraising style, I get an email this morning saying, I know this isn't like the kind of thing. Well, would you mind just putting it? So there we go, right? You can chuck in £3 by texting Grace House NE3. But apparently, again, in Laura's fundraising style, if you replace the 3 and put something else at the end, it just brings in whatever you want to donate. So fundraising NE5 would be a £5. Am I right? What if you put like a 30? Would that be £30?
It only goes up to 20, unfortunately. But you can donate twice. So you could do 215s or you could do 220s if you want to make up to 40. We're on it.
What an absolute hustler you are. I love that. Yeah. Let's see who else we've got in the comments here. Julie, thank you so much for sharing that you found us on Facebook. Good stuff. And yes, ethics, values. You're dead right. Grace House has actually. We've got Laura here. Laura, tell us a bit about Grace House before we delve into the world of Laura. Tell us about Grace House.
Yes, no, Grace House is much more interesting than the world of Laura. So yes, Grace House, we're a children's charity based in Southwick. So we're not far from the Stadium of Light, just to put it into a bit of perspective for you. And we, yeah, I know that's always a bit of a mixed reaction. My husband is black and white through and through, so he loves. I work in Sunderland. Yes. And our aim is to enrich the lives of disabled children, young people, and their families. And we offer a very unique service here at Grace House. So we've got an amazing facility here, which is about 5 years old. It's a purpose-built building. We've got 8 bedrooms, so children can come and stay with us for short breaks. We've got a sensory room. We've got a soft play area. We've got huge gardens, which are amazing. Much better in the summer, I have to say. But yeah, they're brilliant. So the kids can get outside. They can plant vegetables, which they can then nurture and watch them grow and then use in cooking classes, which is amazing because you just get that whole experience of from seed to fork. And we support a lot of children with different disabilities as well. But we also care for the families. So we have a lot of services for the families, and I think Chris is going to go into that in a bit more detail later on. But it really is a very bespoke service.
You go into passionate mode there, Laura, and see straight away. So tell us a little bit about Laura, because you said, "Oh no, it's not." Go on, tell us a bit about you, because I alluded to at the top of the show there. You've had almost a decade, I think, in fundraising. So this is your passion, this is your why. Tell us a little bit about Laura.
Yeah, so I absolutely love the charity sector, and I just love making a difference. And helping people to make a difference as well, which is really important to me. So when people come to me and say, I've got an idea for fundraising, that gets me really excited, because I then get to tell them about Grace House and say how amazing it is and encourage them to get as passionate about it as I do. And that is just, it's amazing. Yeah, lovely feeling.
I'm smiling away here, because when you say when someone comes to you, I've got an idea for fundraising, you smile and I cringe.
Yeah,
because I normally get a little message, don't I?
Do you know what? Interestingly enough, I was looking through my messages yesterday in preparation for this, because I did prepare. And I remember seeing a post that you're going to take part in the 10 Peaks Challenge this year. You did say yes on LinkedIn. You did. You did.
When is it?
It's in July.
Is it? Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Did you see my? Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because you did nearly break us on the coast to coast, because
Yeah.
But it was lush. I mean, there's an example of something that the Grace House fundraising team and supporters will do. So what other kind of things have you done to raise funds?
Yeah, so it's obviously been a bit difficult in the last year. But in the past we've done our golf day is amazing. Like, I love the golf day, and working with businesses on that. You
don't play golf though, do you?
Oh no.
Just when you said I love the golf day, I'm imagining you.
No, that would not be good. But I love organising it and setting all the golfers away and then raising the funds. So last year we raised about £8,000 on our golf day, which was incredible because it was moved from June to September. Obviously, very difficult time for everybody, but to be able to raise that amount of money just makes such a huge difference to the charity. So yeah, there's some very generous people that support us.
Yeah. And there's lots of people ask me to play golf, but because if I can't pick it up and throw it or kick it, I'm just absolutely useless. What kind of people play the golf? Is it like corporate kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, so a lot of businesses. We've got some really good local businesses that support us. So Esh Group are booked on for this year. HLA. Who else have we got? Oh, you've put me on the spot now, and I can't think who else we've got booked on. I say you've put me on the spot. I put myself on the spot there, really.
No, well, it's good. It's good that you can. Obviously, you've got supporters of Grace House, so let's shout about who they are. Because
Mm.
I think a lot of the activities, a lot of the service wouldn't take place if it wasn't for such, kind donations and the support from some of your corporates maybe and all your fundraising crew. So
Yeah,
definitely shout them out.
yeah, they are brilliant. We've got White Digital. They've come on board. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that support us, and we're just so grateful for the support. And hopefully they have a good day and potentially get some business out of it, if they bring clients onto the green and things like that. So yeah, it works both ways.
Yeah, and business. I mean, I come from sales and marketing. I've got my own company. When we do this kind of thing, it's not business for me is not in the forefront. I mean, you know this. It's about just changing and being a part, because I think it's quite enviable actually, Laura. Watching what you do, and you make such a difference, and you change lives, and you and the team and everybody at Grace House. Me in business and my other colleagues, we just do stuff, and it's like, you know what I mean? It doesn't really, but you just do so much amazing things. So actually, from a corporate point of view, being able to help and just be a very small part of that is very kind of reassuring and rewarding, really. So the business side of it, if you get it, it's nice, but really, it's just trying to give back, isn't it?
Definitely, and I think a lot of our supporters, they feel great when they do support us, and they can see where their money goes. I've got it's a very sort of open door policy here. If you want to come down to Grace House and have a look around, you can do. Obviously restrictions are in place at the moment, and if there's children in, then you can't go into the short breaks area. But come to Grace House, we'll have a coffee, and you can get an idea of who we are and what we do.
Lovely. I've been in, and it is great, and to actually meet some of the children there as well, it's just so inspiring. Oh, you must have the best job.
It is. I really do have the best job. I mean, the children, the families that we meet and we support are just so inspirational, and they really keep me grounded, because I do tend to get a bit excited, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what event are we organising? I know it's weird that I get excited, but what event are we organising, and how can we raise money, and how can we do this? And then it's the why behind that. So meeting the families and seeing what a difference it actually makes to people, that brings you back down, and it is incredibly humbling to know that you're making a difference. So yeah, amazing.
What's it like a day in the life of you, Laura? What kind of things do you do?
Oh, it can be anything. So some days it can just be replying to emails, which are not the fun days, but you've got to do your admin to keep on top of stuff. But other times you can be attending networking events, doing presentations about Grace House. It's really important to get the name out and to let people know that we're here and what we do, both from the point of view that you can then support us, but also people need to know that we're here so that they can access our services. So I do quite a lot of presentations. I could be dressed up as our mascot, Joy the Tiger, which I have been on several occasions, and doing different promo work around that. Yeah, no, it's great. And then the next day, I could be all glammed up and at a ball, raising funds. So no 2 days are ever the same, and that's what I love. It's great.
How do you stop you getting? If this was me, I'd just be so. It must be very emotive working in this field. How do you manage that side of the emotional side and the parents and everything? How does that work?
Yeah, so it is difficult. But I mean, I think you've got to have your ways of coping.
Okay.
And my way of coping is that I come to work and I do what I do, and then I go home and I tell my husband all about it.
Yeah.
And if I need to have a cry, then I have a cry. If I, if it's been something really good, then he'll hear the good parts. And then it's like, right, that's my kind of closure on it, until the next day, because otherwise you'll just get completely caught up in everything, and you won't be able to do your job effectively. So
Yeah.
you need to have those little outlays or outlets.
And it must be so rewarding though, because a lot of the families that you see, they will treat you like a friend. I would imagine that they'll know you, they'll know Chris, they'll know Victor, they'll know everybody in the team. And it must be so rewarding as well, just to know that you're making such a difference and helping, and you'd probably be able to see firsthand like changes that you do at Grace House.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. I think I've got a slightly different role. So I'm sort of the face of Grace House externally into businesses and to fundraisers. Whereas internally, I know some of the families, but not all of them. But I mean, Chris, who you're going to talk to later, he is amazing. And, someone could just walk in and they'd be like, oh, hello, how's so-and-so? And how are you getting on? And it really is that personal touch that makes a difference. You're not a number or a statistic or a diagnosis when you come to Grace House. You're part of the family, and we become part of your family as well. So yeah, it is incredible.
Tell us a bit about the building itself, Laura.
Yeah, so beautiful building. Like I said, we've got 8 bedrooms, so children can come in and stay with us. It's purpose built, so it's got everything in it that it needs. We've got some lovely counselling rooms in here. We've also just got a VR room, which was kindly supported by Thrift Energy. So they and Simon Britton did a lot of work with that as well. Simon quite well. And that's a fantastic opportunity for children to go wherever they want to go in the world. So it's all interactive. I was down there the other day and I was in Africa, and there was lions and giraffes on the wall, and then you can touch the wall and you can get information about where you are. Or you could be in London setting off fireworks across the wall, and it's just really amazing. So yeah, we work hard at providing everything that we can for families.
That's great. And you touched upon Simon there, who's the chair of trustees. Tell us a little bit about the trustees, Laura, because it's a very important role, and obviously they add a lot to the Grace House and the strategy. So how's your board looking?
Yes, we've got a brilliant board. Simon's amazing. He's always full of ideas about different things that we can do. And you know what? He's just so enthusiastic. He's great. I mean, if anyone is interested in becoming a trustee, I would recommend just getting in touch with Victoria to have a chat. But yes, we've got a mix of trustees on the board just now, and they're all brilliant, and they're all passionate about Grace House.
They're not all watching, though. You don't have to say that, really, though.
I don't know if any of them are watching, so I'm watch on catch up.
Tell us a bit about Grace House, where it came from, who established it, and the why. How did it happen?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story with Grace House. So you need to be of a certain age and location to understand the start of it. So which I am neither. So Kathy Secker came up with the idea for Grace House, and she was a presenter on Time Teas, I believe. Yeah. I wasn't in the Northeast at that point, so that's why I don't really know who she is.
Legend, Laura. She's a legend.
Yes.
We lost Kathy a few years ago, maybe?
Yes, we did, yeah. So Kathy decided that she was going to set up a children's hospice, and she went through all of the process, and unfortunately it was decided that Sunderland didn't need a hospice as such, because obviously we had the hospice in Newcastle and down with Butterwick Hospice. So the decision was made to change it to the respite facility. So we did that. Also, children were living longer due to medical advancements, so we could really help more families by becoming the Grace House that we are now. And then we expanded on everything. And yes, I've just seen that message, from Darren saying Emma and the team are fantastic, and they are. The team in Short Breaks deserve a massive high five and shout out, because they have carried on throughout this pandemic, and there's no complaints. They're there, they're caring for the children, and they're absolute stars. So yes, thank you.
Short breaks, Laura, tell us a bit about that.
Yes, so that is children can come in and they can stay with us for either a night or 3 nights. They get a sort of holiday away from home experience. They make friends, so they've got little friendship groups. They go out on activities, lots of different things going on while they're at Grace House. But it means that the family get a bit of respite as well. So they can do things that they might have otherwise been restricted in doing. So, if there is any other siblings in the family, they get a bit of time with mum and dad, and it just helps everyone recharge and relax and get back to sort of self-help and self-care.
Yeah. And when the children come stay, what kind of things do they do across that day or 3?
Loads. So so in, not last year because of lockdown, but the year before, we went up to Amble and took some kids out on a specially designed catamaran,
Right.
a boat. And this is just for those who don't know what a catamaran is, sorry. So they went out on the boat and lots of the kids have never been on a boat before. And, a couple of the kids were in wheelchairs, so they couldn't have experienced that. So they got the wind in their hair, they got the salt spray coming over, and a couple of the kids got to drive the boat as well. And I really don't know if that's the right terminology, but that's what we're going with.
Yep.
So that experience is just incredible. For the children, it's just creating memories and experiences that they might never get. So that's the sort of like one extreme of activities that children can do. And then it might just be things like going out to the shops and creating a bit of independence with the kids, and going to the park or going to the beach. We just so many different things going on.
It's so important. My daughter, we were even talking last night actually about when we went to Lake District, and she remembers climbing a mountain. And what I'd said to Jess was, I said, you probably won't remember what happened on the 23rd of February 2020, or you probably won't remember what we did 4 Saturdays ago. But when you take them somewhere, and do something with them, children really remember that, and it's a memory that sits with them for so long. So that take them to Amble was something that must really be sticking, like such a lovely experience. Can you do that, Laura, without fundraising? I mean, and I know we said that at the top of the show, like we don't really want to get too heavy into donations, but is that what donations do? Allow you to do things like Amble?
Yeah, I mean, we do get different funding streams through different grants and things, but yeah, going to the football. The kids love going to the Stadium of Light as well, and just having that experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, Darren's fab. Hi, Darren. I think we would really struggle to do as much as we do without fundraising.
So is that part of your role, Laura? You mentioned there about other grants and funds and that sort of stuff. Do you have to kind of watch the funding landscape to see what's around and then try to apply to tap into that? Yeah.
Sorry, Darren's just telling me.
I know what you're laughing at.
No, grounds for divorce, Darren.
I agree with you, Darren.
Yeah. We have a lovely lady called June who works with us, and she applies for all of the grants for us and brings in all of that side of things. But we do work closely together. If she sees an opportunity that works for me, and if I see an opportunity that works for her, we're such a close team that it does go hand in hand around that. But yes, June is our lady for grants and trusts, and she's brilliant.
Fantastic. Who was it? June, was that?
June, yes.
June, yeah. Well, speaking about your team, we've got one of your team in the background there. We can see him in the green room, our Chris.
Oh, brilliant. I'm glad he's made it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm a bit nervous about bringing him in because you know what he's like with tech. He's probably, his microphone might not be working. He won't be able to hear us. But should we bring him in? Let's stop winding him up. Let's bring him in.
Bring him in.
Mr. Pretty, how are you, sir? Hi.
Well, I'm all the better for seeing you and Laura, and I can see straight away I needed a bit more eye makeup on this morning looking at Laura. So,
Well, I tell you what, it is
it's
Laura stole a lot of your thunder today, Chris, because we've been talking all about the service that Grace House offers. So actually, she will let Laura go. Do you want to relax,
Yeah.
Laura?
please.
Go on.
Yeah.
You can watch. Let's
Thank
boot
you.
Laura out. Laura, lovely to see you. I bring you back in maybe later on, so don't go anywhere.
Brilliant.
I'm sure you'll be
Thank-
watching.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks.
Well, have you drew that this morning, sir? If you painted that this morning, you've been busy already.
Yeah, it's just my spare time hobby. I know Laura was talking a bit about what a sort of close knit team we are. The lady I sit opposite, I will give a shout out to her. She's not around today. Lynn is actually an artist, and since Lynn's been part of the team, my knowledge of art has increased amazingly. But I take no credit for this thing behind me.
Oh, brilliant! Well, I hope Lynn's watching this morning.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the nice things about the building as well, Ian. And I know you touched on the building stuff with Laura, but even though the building's been open a few years now, it still feels quite new. And it is so bright and colourful and light and spacious, and the artwork behind me is just one example. The artwork was already here when I joined just over 3 years ago. But we've got some lovely pieces dotted around, and Lynn, who I mentioned, did some really nice work with some young people who were working with us with disabilities, and and it's just lovely to see. Can I just say as well? Sorry, I know you're going to ask me whatever you're going to ask.
Oh, go for your life. Go on.
Just on the back of what you were saying to Laura about, what it's like being in the building. Just when I came in this morning. I'm not normally around on a Friday, but when I came in this morning, there was a mum who just picking up a little boy from Short Breaks, and I can use her name because she's waived anonymity in the past. Gemma and her son Jack. Jack's been coming to Short Breaks now for quite a few years. Lovely lad, very engaging. Unfortunately, he's got a quite serious progressive condition. He's now in a wheelchair. But Gemma's used Grace House, and she's been quite happy to help us with sort of promotion and marketing in the past. She's used the counselling service, and it's just a really lovely example, I think, of a family where they've had a son with awful conditions who's actually come to Short Breaks, really enjoyed it. A mum who for one reason or another felt she needed counselling, used us for counselling, got some benefit from us, and that's the kind of stuff that makes all this worthwhile, and that's why it's great to do this kind of thing as well, because we just really want to let as many people as possible know what we're about and what we offer.
I totally agree, Chris, and I love some of the name drops and the name checks you've been doing as staff and families. It's great, and actually we've had a comment here from Haley Cook, who said she's a health transition nurse and she works alongside the team. So do you know Haley yourself, Chris?
I've met Haley in the past. I mean, one of the when I first started at Grace House, which was August 2017. To do the job that I'm still in effect doing. The project's changed a bit, but at the time I joined Grace House, the Short Break service was open, and that had been running for a little while and doing fantastically well. But the rest of the support that we were starting to put in place for disabled children, and particularly the family around a disabled child, was only really just sort of in its quite early stages at that point. So I was really lucky to have a bit of a remit at the time to get out there. I remember sitting on my first day in Victoria's office, which is just opposite where I sit, and said to her, "Well, what's my number one priority really?" And she said, "Get out there and let people know what we offer," which was great. And so that set me off on a journey of starting to think. 'Cause I had some knowledge of disability issues, some contact, but to be able just to get out there, start to talk to loads of different people in the health service, social workers, loads of other charities doing fantastic work, just to start to try and join things up a little bit better as well, because as well as all the great services that we offer at Grace House, we also do signposting, because if there's somebody else that can offer something that somebody wants, well, great, we'll let people know about that, and we'll focus on the things that maybe other people aren't doing that are quite unique to Grace House.
So in terms of that signpost, and Chris, how do people keep up to speed with Grace House? How do they understand what services they offer and understand?
Well, it's been quite a sort of evolutionary process, I suppose, Ian. The main methods, I mean, everybody who registers to get some kind of help and support from Grace House, there's a process to go through, and they give us their contact details. We to get their permission, so we add emails to a system. We log telephone numbers. So we've been doing a lot of stuff via email, just emailing out regularly to people. Yeah. More recently, we keep reviewing with people, you know, what they want us to do, because this service is for them, not for us. And people suggested, well, maybe doing a little bit more with text messaging would be quite good. Okay. So Laura, who's just been on, who was much more techy than me.
Text messages like this, Chris, where you can just text Grace House any three and it would just give us £3 donation.
Well, that's that kind of thing, yeah. But it's a system called, I think it's Text Magic. Thanks for the plug-in. It's Text Magic. So every so often, you know, instead of just doing a mass email out, we've got 300 and odd people on our email sort of list at the moment, about 356, because I was just looking at them while I was listening to Laura as well. So regular mass emails out, but we're also now starting to send texts out occasionally. We do now more and more on social media, which goes completely over my head. And Laura's our sort of go-to person, along with the student who's working with us now, Charlotte. And we're doing lots with social media through Facebook. We've got a closed Facebook group for people who use Grace House for a bit of peer support and information sharing. So we really just respond to what people tell us, you know, which is the best and easiest way to communicate. Because I think listening to the people who use us has been absolutely key to what we've been doing, really. And in terms of the services, then, Chris, you know, are they free? Like, how do people access it? Yeah. I mean, to access Grace House, again, we keep everything absolutely really simple. See a nice message from Rachel there, yeah. Really simple. All we need is a name and a contact number within the family, and we can take it from there. If there's more background to be given, that's great. But whether it's anybody, I mean, we get a mix of sort of the way that people hear about us. I mean, just this week, I think I've had 5 or 6 calls from parents who've heard about us in one way or another, and they've just taken initiative to ring up themselves and find out more. We get referrals in from the kinds of people I mentioned before: health staff, social workers, schools, whatever. But again, the referral process, all we need is a phone call or an email with a name and a contact number, any background information that people choose to give us, and then whichever one of us gets that information, we'll get in touch with the individual, have a chat about the services that we offer, and then at least they know, and that's kind of really important as well, Ian, because I've had the privilege really in my time here to listen to the stories of a lot of people as they've come in to start to use Grace House, and it's always stayed with me that almost no matter who you speak to, who you're listening to, telling me, if they choose to, the story of what's going on in their lives at that time, there are 2 themes that inevitably come through. One, they'll tell me about the fight and the battle to get the right services in place for their disabled child, for the rest of the family. And they also talk about the difficulty in finding what other help and support is actually out there. And that seems horrendous. And we're talking about a group of people who've got really busy lives. I mean, life's life. Throw in the mix a disabled child or disabled children. Somebody's got a higher percentage than the national average of more than one child with a disability within the same family unit. So throw all that in the mix. Yeah, it's just really important, I think, that we are there. And I've heard people tell us that we are, a very great organisation for actually reaching out and offering support to people who've been used to having to research and do this and fight and battle, because we really got this vision of Grace House being a hub for disabled children and their families, the go-to place. Really.
Chris, so I think we touched upon, I asked the question, is it free to access?
Oh yes, yeah. As you find out, I keep going off the tangents here.
I'll bring you back, my friend.
Thank you. Yes. Everything's free through our grant funding that we've got for the various projects. But what we do find is that some of the people who've used us and have really appreciated and benefited what we've done do sometimes make donations and do sometimes want to take part in some of Laura's ridiculously challenging activities that you've obviously done a bit of in the past, Ian, as well. Mm-hmm. One of my colleagues who's just sat next to me actually here, Leslie Ann, has started with us in the last few months in a role as a family support officer, and she does a few other bits and pieces that we might touch on. But one of the parents that Leslie Ann helped recently, she's donated stuff to us. She made something and sold it and gave us cash in that way.
Is Leslie on with you? Can you see her right now?
I can, yeah. Do you want to put her on?
She can wave at us, guys. She can Hi. There you go. Look, she's now doing her hair. She's taking the scarf off.
Oh, man.
Hi, Leslie Ann.
He likes to put people on the spot. Hello.
Congratulations on joining Grace House.
Well done.
Oh, love it. Did I see you retiring, Chris? Did I read that in the comments there?
Yeah. It's just after. Well, I've despite my appearance, I'm not quite about 80 yet, but I've worked for a lot of years, and I'm thinking now's the time to start to think about other things.
Okay, well, there's our Claire, and said you're going to be a big miss. I'm sure a lot of people think the same.
Well, Claire, like so many people that we've worked with over the years, amazing parent, does so much for her daughter. Yeah, but I'm not leaving till the end of May. Because we want to give enough time to advertise the job, get the right person in, and have a bit of a handover. So if there's anybody out there who is interested in joining a great team, doing some really worthwhile work, keep an eye out for the advert when it comes out.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Chris, because what's a standout memory for you then? You said you're going to retire there, and you may take a bit of time to do something else. What stands out in your mind? What will you look back fondly on?
I think that it's not really one particular thing. When I joined Grace House, say August 2017, at that time we had 29 families or individuals, I think they were actually, who were using the support we offered at the time. We've now got say around about 350, and I just think it's been part of that journey, really, to see Grace House go from where it was to where it is. The beauty's been really, as more people get to know us and start to use us, it's a bigger pool of people to tell us whether what we're doing is still fit for purpose, still meets their needs, and also to give us some thoughts on what do we do next? So it's kind of been part of that sort of journey. I think Ian, really is when I do leave, and I'm getting a bit goosebumps now actually thinking about it. But when I do leave, I'd like to think I've played some part in that. But it's also great that where the team's at now. That and I mean I put Leslie Ann, or you put Leslie Ann, not me. It was your idea. Put Leslie Ann on the spot. But the sort of job that Leslie Ann does is a great example of us listening to people, because we were hearing stories from families where there'd been quite a long diagnostic process for their child. Finally, they would come to a conclusion, they'd go into a consultant, be given a diagnosis, there you go, thank you very much. We'd walk out of the office and think, oh, what do we do now? Who can help us? Where do we go with it? And people were really struggling with where they could go to, really. And so the initial role that Leslie Ann was brought in to do is family support was aimed at families where there'd been a fairly recent diagnosis of some form of disability. And Leslie Ann could get involved, get to know the family a little bit, and then make sure that they were aware of the Grace House services, but also if there are other services out there that they would need to tap into to again do a little bit of signposting.
Can I just draw those numbers you mentioned? You mentioned 90, and then you said 350. Tell us a little bit about that, Chris. So is that 90 families? Did you say?
It's 350 people. Who are 350-ish who are now registered with us, and that might be one person in a family. It may be more than one person within a family unit. Because again, one of the really interesting things I think as the services at Grace House have developed, say for example the counselling service that we offer, which falls under my particular project at Grace House. So we initially offered counselling for adult family carers, but again, listening to the people who used us, we heard that there was a bit of a gap for counselling support for disabled children. So Laura mentioned our fantastic bid writer June. June was able to get some money in to enable us to do a pilot piece of work to offer counselling for disabled children, where the disabled child was in a position to engage in a therapeutic process. The feedback from that was really good. So when we got our latest fantastic load of lottery funding, which funds a number of our work, and we're absolutely indebted to the lottery for the support they've given us. When we've got the latest load of funding for the project I'm currently working on, we're able to include counselling for disabled children as part of the bigger picture. We've got that funding now for another 3 years. We also were listening to families and found out that siblings within the family unit, if you've got a disabled child or children, non-disabled child or children, that creates its own issues, because inevitably the child with a disability can take up a lot more time because of hospital appointments, different things with school and different other appointments, and sometimes the siblings a little bit on the periphery sometimes. So listening to that, we thought, well, do we need to do more here? And so we started offering a sibling counselling service. And again, the feedback from that has been really, really fantastic, Ian. And we do have families where we've had an adult who's received counselling, one or more of the children have received counselling, and the next step for us now, we're starting to have a look at family therapy, because again, and this is coming from the wonderful counsellors who work with us, there seems to be something that we could do around family therapy, looking at the relationships within family, building on some of the work that Leslie Ann does, because Leslie Ann's also involved in a family nurturing piece of work. Again, just to always keep looking and offering those services.
That's so reassuring, Chris. And I think now more than ever, we need that, during the pandemic, and children, siblings, parents, everybody will be affected. Have you saw an uptick in that service since things have been tough for us all?
Yeah, I mean, it's guess one of the things that's really struck us all under the pandemic, I think most of us struggle with a completely different way of life over the last year or so now. But to try and imagine for someone whose world is seen in a different way, to try and make sense of that, from the families who use us, I guess the condition that's most prevalent among the disabled children is autism with the linked conditions. And I know it's a real generalization, but sometimes with autism, structure, routine is so important for the autistic person. Well, you tell me what's been structured in routine over the last 12 months. Virtually nothing. So for young children with disabilities to try and process that and why they're not at school, or they're back at school, or they're off school, and mum and dad's going to work, we're not going to work, I can't go out, we can't go to our favourite places, all that kind of stuff. Of course, it brings loads of extra sort of pressure onto the family. Again, through the lockdown, we've been very proactive. Managed to get hold of extra funding, just to do some sort of keeping in touch work with families. And a few of us, June's been doing a lot of the phone calls with my colleague Rebecca, Lesliana, I've been doing some, Lynn, our artist, has been doing stuff, Victoria had, and just even a simple phone call has been so well received, because some people were telling us that in the pandemic maybe they hadn't been getting loads of help and support, but Grace House was sort of there reaching out, checking out, and through the funding as well, through the pandemic, we could offer support remotely. We were doing things like emotional freedom technique. We gave that a try, which is sort of a tapping process for stress relaxation, stress management, doing some sort of music therapy, mindfulness. I mean, you're talking to Laura Hind, I think later this morning, who's well, you'll see, and anybody watching it will be able to see if they don't already know Laura. She's amazing. She's got one of the most calming voices. So we just adjusted to what we could offer. And again, the feedback that we had from the people about phone calls, some of the new support services we offered was great. We've got more funding in recently to continue that work, so we're doing another round of phone calls. And yeah, it's really tough for people, really tough for people, and it's been really tough as well as the lockdown has been lifted occasionally in the past. So and different things, and having to get used to different sort of structures around it has been hard.
So Chris, if somebody was watching this for the first time, because obviously all our viewers have clicked share, right? They've all clicked share and they've all liked it, obviously. And maybe now somebody on social media has now been exposed to Grace House, what it does, all the services. What's the first step for somebody that might want to reach out and just, maybe just have a little bit more knowledge about what you guys do? What's the first protocol?
Yeah, well, we've got a website, a Facebook page. If somebody feels more comfortable having a look at that first to get some information. Really, the most important thing somebody can do is pick up the phone, give us a call, drop us an email, send us a message via Facebook or whatever. All we need is that initial contact with someone. What we find or can find is that we're dealing with people who've been used to having to cope, having to manage, to be Superman and Superwoman and do everything for all of the family, and actually thinking, hang on, I think I do need something a bit more here. That sometimes can be quite challenging to make that first contact with us, and that's why we feel it's so important that anybody who's getting in touch for the first time, that we go out of our way to be hopefully welcoming, accepting, friendly, understanding, and to just run through the range of support that we've got. We've had people who've been thinking about using us, but feeling quite anxious, and maybe they've come along to the building with a family member with a partner, with a parent, with a friend. We've had social workers coming in with people just for that kind of support. The important thing is that the person is able to get in touch with us, any one of us, by any means, whether it's phone, email, through social media. We will respond, and just make that sort of process is helpful and as smooth as possible. And I guess I would say this, but people, once they've done that, we do get some great feedback, and people do feel, I think, quite comfortable in the fact that we are a charity that's got a particular focus on disability, particularly children's disabilities, and we understand, we get it, we know what some of the issues are, and so yeah. All I would say to anybody watching, or anybody who's got friends or any professionals who are in a position to refer in, is as I say, we just make it really simple. Just get in touch. All we need is a name and a number, and we'll sort of take it from there.
I think it's really important to have case studies in any business or organization to help people shape and frame it. And we've got Tracey and Dan that's going to join us shortly to talk about their particular journey. Is there anything that you've got on the website or anything that people could see or understand from a case study point of view, get a bit more, shaping it from what? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got case studies on the website. We're in the process of doing a little bit more work as well on the website, but case studies are there. What I quickly printed off just before in as well, we tend to collect, we've got to get feedback from people because we've got to do reports back to funders, numbers that have used us, how people have benefited. But we also like to get quotes from people about how they found it. And if I can just take a few seconds out, really. I was speaking to a mum just yesterday whose daughter has just finished having some counselling with us, and what mum told me, it's had a positive effect on her daughter. She's more aware of her feelings. We've seen a big improvement in her anxiety. She's now talking more about how she feels, not festering, keeping it in. Another mum recently who's had some counselling. Counselling has been so helpful. The counsellor was amazing. I've learned a lot about myself. Grace House are the only people who have helped us, and we feel as if we have a new lease of life. And the final one I just wanted to mention, from another parent, told us Grace House is amazing, and I wouldn't be in the place I am now if it wasn't for you. The support I've had has been fantastic. And again, I'm getting goosebumps when I read that out. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we do it, and that's why it's so important that anybody who maybe knows about us but isn't sure, can I do it? Please get in touch. It'd be great to see more people as well.
Thanks, Chris, for reading those out. I got goosebumps as well. I actually wanted more. Some of those on the website. Testimonials.
They're not at the moment, but it's one of the things we're looking at, because I think that we do lots of fantastic work, but maybe we could let people know a bit more about that and big ourselves up even more. And so this kind of event is absolutely amazing for us, just to help to get the message out and let people know what we do and the benefits to be gained from it. And if it's Tracey and Dan, I think, on next. If they, I don't know if they're in the green room or not yet, but if when you start talking to Tracey and Dan, I mean, an amazing couple with a lovely family, and I'll tell you now, if I talk a bit, once you get Tracey going, you'll never shut her up. So yeah.
Has it been a while since you've managed to see families face to face, Chris, with restrictions? Do you still get to see them as much?
We're seeing some. Leslie Ann sneaking out the way, along with a support, Grace, who definitely doesn't want to be on the camera.
Don't tell us a name, mind. We'll have her. We'll get her on.
No, you want Grace on the camera as well.
You best run away, Grace.
No. But they're about, I think, very soon to start a youth group.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So this is a youth group that we're now running for disabled young people aged 13 to 25. 13 to 25. So it's been running every day through half term. So there's and I think it's normally three young ladies coming in.
Yeah.
In the next few minutes. To doing so it's great seeing them, and Leslie Ann and Grace are doing an amazing job with that, and then I've got a bunch of lads coming in later, so we still see those. We're still offering face-to-face counselling for young people because that really doesn't work so well remotely. So we've got all of the COVID protocols in place to enable us to do that safely and responsibly. So yeah, this week I've seen quite a few lovely young people coming in with the parents for counselling. And as I mentioned right at the start, just coming in the building today and seeing Gemma and Jack and just having a bit of a, hello, how are you doing? It's great. It's great.
Brilliant. Well, before you go, Chris, we've got a message here from Andrea. What about families who don't live locally? Could they still receive counselling services? Obviously, we're doing a lot of stuff online now, remotely. Is that a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the prompt. The services that we offer, the criteria for the services, and sorry, I don't know if Laura touched on this earlier or not, but the criteria for anyone to use us is for the family support work, the counselling, whatever, is someone has to be a carer for someone who has any form of disability, and that the cared for person has got to be 25 or younger, and anyone can use us regardless of where they live, anywhere at all. As you might imagine, we're a predominantly Sunderland-based service because that's where we are. But we've had families using us. There was the message earlier on from Claire Gofton. Claire, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, lives in South Tyneside. I was speaking to two parents yesterday that happens from South Tyneside, County Durham. People come in, Newcastle, Gateshead, whatever. I mean, in the past, it's been the case if anybody could use it, as long as they could get to the building. But as you've said, Ian, we're in a different world now. And one of the things that we've learned in the question that came in was specifically about counselling. What we've learned will be taken forward from all of this is remote counselling will be part of our offer going on. Hi, Anna. Sorry, there's the girls coming into the youth group. So remote counselling will be part of our offer going forward. So absolutely, if people feel comfortable doing counselling by phone or by video link, that'll be part of our offer.
Oh, that's fantastic news. That's great to hear. Well, you did mention Tracey and Dan. Do you want to say hello to them, Chris, before you go?
No, not really.
Of course he does. Hello, you two. Lovely of you to join us. Good morning.
Morning. I love how I'm instantly insulted by Chris. It's like a constant reminder that
it's basically getting my retaliation in first, Tracey.
I'm just lining up with you, Chris, after years of being in your company. That's all it is.
Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, I was looking forward to seeing what colour your hair was going to be today. Anyway, Tracey.
I'm relatively normal today. Relatively.
I'll not say the same about Dan.
Before you go, Chris, we've got one from Victoria here who's joining us late. Is there an offer for autistic children? My youngest is 3 and non-pre-verbal.
Yeah, best thing to do, Victoria, would be to get in touch with us. We can have a chat. Leslie Ann, I mentioned, who's actually got a background as well in working with autistic children. There's a number of things that she might be able to offer and suggest. Part of what we're doing as well, we've got different activity packs, sensory packs that we're able to loan out to people as well. So absolutely, I'd really encourage Victoria to get in touch.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. It's been so enjoyable. And you did mention the words here, super mom, super dad. So let's hear from 2 of those, eh?
Fantastic.
Thanks,
this will be a great session. Cheers. Thanks, Ian.
Cheers.
Hi.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Have you been watching?
Yes.
Good. Some great comments from everybody in the on social media. Have you been on Facebook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good. So, well, thanks so much for joining us. I was going to say live and scary, but it's fine, isn't it? This live stream and carry on. It's no bother at all.
yeah, you can't
No
see
nervousness.
That's fine.
It's fine. It's good. I think it's so important that you joined us today to put some context around Grace House and the services that offer. And I'd love you to tell us. I'm just going to hand it over to you because I want to hear your story. Come on, hand it over to you.
No pressure.
You just
no pressure at all.
no pressure.
Well, we've been together 12 years now, and we had Delilah in 2012. Delilah was born with numerous conditions that we weren't aware of at birth. She was just born with a little bit of dry skin. We weren't really aware of any other complications until she got a little bit older. And when she was around 6 to 7 months,
yeah, it was about 6 months.
We kind of we started looking into this. You know, she's not really keeping herself upright. Everything was becoming a lot more obvious. It was already obvious early on, but it's that whole thing of you don't compare children, you keep an eye on them. Every child grows at a different speed, but there was just always something different about Delilah. She was very happy baby, wasn't she?
Yeah, you wouldn't think anything.
Everything went in her mouth. It still does now, to be fair, especially if it's Red Crisp.
A lot comes out as well now.
But yeah, we just knew there was something not right, and we discovered through an MRI scan that Delilah had delayed myelination, and that just kind of sparked.
Yeah, that was like the beginning of our journey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Medically wise. Anyway, I mean, at one point, I think within the first year we'd met, I think it was around 15 professionals. We had neurology, we had genetics, dermatology, ophthalmology, just everything you could think of. We said, we just said, we've got one of them.
We've got one of them.
We've got one.
We've lost one of them. They don't know what's going on, so they've like now passed the book to somebody else. But yeah, quite quickly we had like a diary full of professionals and appointments and home visits. We had really brilliant Portage support, and they were fantastic. And Portage then started running the group through Grace House, which was also fab for the parents that really didn't get the home visits. But to be honest, looking back on it, it was just a whole lot of appointments, waiting rooms, professionals, trying to understand jargon, trying not to Google anything.
Yeah, the first thing we got told when we met our paediatrician, Dr. Horridge, which shout out Dr. Horridge if he was watching, was don't Google anything.
Yeah.
Because you always say the worst on Google. So that's like been our mantra from now on, just don't Google. I tell you.
But
it's interesting. Sorry, Tracey, I was just going to say to Dan there, you said it was the start of your journey, your medical journey, but actually not the start of your parenting journey, because does Delilah have two brothers? Is it?
A brother and a sister.
Brother and sister, fantastic. So you were parents before Delilah popped along. You had two before that, yeah?
Yeah.
So seasoned professionals before. That's what
completely aware.
Anyway.
We were completely aware of how it should be, but it didn't follow that path. And it's that thing of every child is different. No pregnancy is the same. But even during pregnancy, I kind of tortured Dan quite a bit because he would be at work, and I was like, "Look, there's something not right. She's not moving as much." And he'd get checked out. And sure enough, he would come home, take us to the hospital, and they'd say, no, she's fine. She's a little bit big. Everything's to plan. They lied. But she was massive. She was 9 pounds 3. And at the time, I think I was like a size 8. I'm not so lucky now. But yeah, to have a 9 pounds 3 baby, I thought that was like the biggest of my worries. But yeah, it wasn't.
Just tell us a little bit about the two of you. So working wise, has that changed things? Because obviously when Delilah came along, did you have to adjust how you work?
Yeah, so I was a computer technician for Gateshead Council. I was primarily based in Wickham College in Gateshead. Yeah. And with, like Tracey said, the pregnancy wasn't the smoothest to start with, so I had a lot of time off, which they were understanding about. And then when we found out about, I think it was when we were saying about 6 months old and we had the MRI, we found out something wasn't right. I guess my state of mind at that time was, I'm just going to hand me notice in, and I walked away from my job, because at that point in my life, money wasn't important. I just needed to figure out what was the matter with my daughter, you know. So, and that's the way I went from then. That didn't really start working until around about is it 2018? It's been a long 5-6 years out of work. So yeah, it's quite a bit going on, to be honest.
Yeah, Dan, thanks so much for sharing that. I think it really is important to share your journey, to talk. You touched a little bit there. I don't want to push you too much, but I think your mindset about everything that happened, it does change you, the relationship between the two of you, I would imagine, the children and everything. Yeah. So, when did your support with Grace House first start? How did you meet Grace House?
We kind of, when you talk about relationship changing, I'm going to mention it because I think
no, go for it. Yeah,
that is just never mentioned ever.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we talk about supporting parents and making sure they have self-care, and nobody quite actually asks if your marriage is okay, if your relationship's okay, did everything go smoothly? And for a good while, it went kind of iffy, didn't it? It just, it wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It just became almost silent. And it's a really hard concept to explain. But when you're having your child constantly being checked up upon, your conversation changes. So I can honestly see it throughout that time. I think me and Dan didn't really talk unless it was about Delilah or the kids. And it's really bizarre to look back on now, and it's not something I really thought about all that much. But when you look at it now, you can see that we already knew that when we left doctor's appointments and they were giving us all this information. Me and Dan wouldn't talk in the car on the way home. We didn't talk till 9 o'clock at night. And it was that idea of once all the kids are in bed and everything's gone quiet, then we can discuss what we were being told that day. We can take the information and really look at it. But as a whole, we've had times where I've definitely kicked Dan out just because he looked at us the wrong way. And I've been crying because I haven't been able to do the dishes. But this is normal. And I think everybody seems to think that when you parents have a child with any additional need, you must be super parents. You mustn't really crumble all that much. You must enjoy each other's company, which we do.
Yeah.
But at times, at the same time, I would just like him to breathe quieter in a different room.
Yeah.
Because there's just times where you just can't cope. But yeah, and the difficulty, which is coming back to Grace House, is when Delilah was a couple of years old, we were travelling to go to the RVI, and I became unwell. And from that day on, I had a lot of anxiety to the point where I wouldn't leave the house. So Dan went through a really turbulent time for about 3 to 4 years of just really struggling to get us to attend appointments and things like that. And it wasn't until meeting other parents and putting myself in a position that I wasn't used to being into, mainly because of one parent kind of dragging us out the house, which was forcing us to coffee groups, that I kind of started seeing that I wanted change. I wanted to fix myself, for the kids, for Dan. I didn't want to have that pressure on him all the time. And that's when I started to reach out at Grace House and seek help. And I'd spoke to Chris, and Chris had said, look, we've got space on the counselling list if you'd like to jump on the list and wait around. And I said, yeah, put my name down, thinking, as you do, in about 6 or 7 months, he's going to contact us, and by then I'll be fine. I'll not need it. But he contacted us quite quickly and said, actually, there's become a space available. Can you come in sort of next week? And I think from that moment on, it kind of opened my eyes to Grace House. On the other side, there's this perception that is in the Northeast that Grace House is primarily respite, and it's not. It does offer a lot of help to the families, to the parents, grandparents. As long as you're a carer, you kind of offered support.
I don't know where to start with this one, because, well, first of all, thank you. Okay, thank you for being so open and honest, because I think you have raised a few feelings that a lot of our viewers and a lot of parents and families will be going through. And there's Victoria there, concurring with what you said, and I really do. I admire what you said there, and I think, Dan, something stuck out to me. What you said was, you said lots of words that had ology at the end. and you suddenly now become an expert in lots of these medical fields, and it is such a journey. How did you upskill yourself then? You didn't touch upon Google. You weren't going there, and you said like you're in the car and you're not really speaking. Is it just a matter of like taking on board what some of these medical experts have said and then letting it sit in your mind and trying to work it all out?
Yeah, it was just processing the information, and
yeah,
it's a scary thing to go through. And being a man, obviously, you'll know that we're not known for our emotional sort of integrity or anything. But you just don't know what to say, because you've lost, like I said, the impact of the marriage. You've lost that friend that you had, and now you've almost become two professionals yourselves, trying to take on board all this medical jargon and process it in a way that you feel is best to talk about. And it took such a long time, didn't it, for us to go on. We're talking about like 3-4 appointments a week, and that was between home visits and going to the hospital, because she had that many professionals and everyone wanted to find out what was wrong with her as quick as possible. They just literally slung the whole book at us, didn't they, really, to so to speak. And we've got this person you see next week, and we're meeting this one next week, and that's another thing. It's not only what you hear; it's the person who you've been talking to. Like, do you trust them? Do you, like, how long have these people been professionals? Are the students? And you don't know, and you find yourself in a world that you've never ever thought you'd be in. And for me personally, it was just like you say, it was a journey, and now that we're here at this point, me and Tracey enjoy talking about what we've been through, and when we're here, new parents, and we get the opportunity to talk to new parents, we do share our knowledge and say, look, it's not scary. Like, this is what's going to happen, and and like you say, nobody ever touches on the impact of marriage, but we're fine. So, well, I can't say everyone's the same, but it's all I want to say is it'll be okay, really. And that's from a dad's perspective, which nobody ever really seems to talk about as well. It's just, it's going to be all right.
Keep trying to push him to talk.
Thanks, Dan, and not to take anything away from those wonderful mums, but I think Dan sometimes do, and I'll massively generalize here, but unfortunately I have had a little taste of what you've gone through, which I won't go into, but I think sometimes you have to be a bit of, you be the man, you be the the strong one who kind of maybe helps Tracey through, and who helps Dan, and I hope you don't mind us generalizing that, but I've seen a lot of that, and it is tough.
I think we've both at some point had that meltdown where I think everybody reaches this boiling point where it's like a massive meltdown, and it only lasts 15 minutes because that's all you're allowed, and it makes you really, really look at everything on a grander scale, and the first thing you think of is, why her? And I think that was the one time where we've both had that meltdown, and it's bizarre because you will get upset over little things, and you'll get upset over the big things, and you'll cry when she does something that you didn't expect her to do. But at one point or another, one of us, or sometimes both of us, have both said, like, why did it have to be her? But you can't steer in that mindset. So once we've had that 15 minutes, and we've had that talk, we'll crack on and get on with it. And to be honest, we've got a really good sense of humour, and we tend to torture each other and other people regularly. And I think it really helps because we do get asked lots of daft questions, and Delilah will go for a little surgery and we get asked if she can walk now. She's not walked since, she's never walked, she's never planning on walking. But, we do get asked things like, how do we cope? And things, and, we do tell people that we try to leave her with somebody else, but nobody would take her, so we have to look after her. But it's having that sense of humour, and it doesn't come easy, it doesn't come quickly. It takes a lot of time, and
it's been a lot of work, hasn't it?
Massive.
On us, really, and
we're not the same people.
No,
not at all. I'm completely different, and
it gives you a different outlook on people's situations as well. Like, not to judge people. And that was one of the that she had to say was one of the things that we sort of judge people by the cover. And I think a lot of people do, but I think being in this situation, you just think about what's going on at home. Even if they haven't got a disabled child, you just think what's in their life that's making them act like that. Especially early on of having Delilah, you do look at a lot of other families and think, how are you managing? How are you coping? Why am I not coping the same? Or, you know, how comes their child's so healthy and they're terrible people? And it's horrible and you feel ashamed for saying it or thinking it. But unfortunately, in all honesty, that's what you think. And you do compare your kids and you don't want to, but we're just human at the end of the day. You took the words out of my mouth, and I'm sure, you know, professionals like Sir Chris have said some things to you where you can't help what feelings come into your mind. And Dan, we do all judge people by the cover because that's what we see. And since prehistoric times, we've done that. That's you instantly do get a feeling of somebody. But, you know, sharing what you shared, and here's a comment there from Cheryl that she's, you know, agreeing with what you said. You do become therapist, teacher, care coordinator, experts in conditions. Yeah, how do you kind of cope with that? I'm not 100% sure, and I suppose as your journey progresses, you've got so much now to tell other people. So when they are asking those stupid questions or silly, there is never a silly question, is there really? No, not now. In the early days, it felt so silly, but now you kind of understand people, where they're coming from, why they're asking the questions. And you also judge people depending on their length of the journey. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because you can look at somebody and say, right, your child is a couple of years old. At this point, I know that you are currently going through X, Y, and Z. And you can then say, right, well, at this point, I did this, and this is what we were going through. Is that the same? Do you feel the same that we did? And if you did, this is how I managed it. And you can take a lot of guidance from it. And you do become a different person, as in you take on the professionals' roles, and that's 100 of them. And one thing I will say is that the professionals do bombard you for the first couple of years, and then they all disappear almost as if you've dropped off a ledge. But what parents don't understand and take a long time to work out is that actually you don't need the professionals to be at your door every day anymore. They've trained you to look after this child that you never expected. So what you're doing from then on is their role, but they are always there if you need them. But you have to pick your battles. That is it, top and bottom. So if Delilah's skin's a little bit dry today and it's really irritating, I'm a dermatologist today. If her legs are a bit stiff, I'm a physio. And Dan's a taxi because Delilah can't walk. She doesn't like a hoist. So Dad's taxi. So anytime she needs to move, she just shouts for Dan. So literally, I don't know if you can see like the wire in the background. We've got hoists in like 3 of our rooms, and I mean, I'm ashamed to say they don't really get used that much because she doesn't like them, and that's part of who she is. And she has got autism as well, and she likes things in particular. Like we're particularly just sitting. This is Delilah's spot. If she saw us thinking now, I'm so sorry. So this is Delilah's spot on the couch. This is where she watches her iPad like every day. And has her red crisps. Like everybody who knows Delilah will know that she has to have her red crisps. They're not allowed to call them very salted. They are red crisps. She has to have her iPad and this spot, and nobody's allowed to sit in it. So we're just kind of perched on the edge. Yeah, even our brother and sister know that as well. Yeah. You know, it's lovely because you doing this for us today, I'm so thankful, but this is helping so many parents. I guess your role now is also, the word ambassador for Grace House is not the right one, but maybe an ambassador for children and families who are going through this kind of thing. Is that something that's in with you both now, that you want to help other families? They say you become a different person. I think that's the people we've sort of become. We always want to help other people. Tracey gets involved with Grace House more than I do, because I'm at work most of the time. But I just love bugging Chris, to be honest. like shoot him an email just to irritate him a little bit. So I've had, since October last year, I started a specialist volunteer role with Grace House, and
It's bridging the gap between the parents and Grace House, and you know, just offering advice, because you'll never understand this path unless you've walked it, or even if you've had a little taste of it, you'll never have like the full experience. You'll have like a glimpse into a day almost, and especially during the pandemic, like one thing that I kind of said to Victoria last year was, you know, parents were going through a pandemic before it was even cool. Like, we've already been here, we know to wash our hands 600 times a day, and not necessarily sing happy birthday every time, but you know, we do socially distance, we keep away from people that has bugs, we are medically trained, we do rely heavily on professionals like the rest of the world currently is, and we do isolate ourselves a lot, but we also kind of pop back out now and again and show our faces, and everything is fine and dandy, and then 2 minutes later we're like hibernating again. But that's just life, that's everybody's life. So yeah, I've taken a role with Grace House just to help, you know, get the word out there that they are there, they do fantastic stuff. They've really, really kind of saved me 100%, which in turn really benefited our family, because I'm now able to go out and drive myself and, you know, take the kids out. I've took back the appointments that Dan had to do a lot of because I couldn't go. So that's like allowed him to go back to work and crack on with what he wants to do. And for a non-sociable person, Dan goes to work, and every time he bumps into somebody that has, like, you know, a little bit upset or whatever, he reassures them that it's all going to be okay. And especially parents who are waiting on an autism diagnosis, or they've kind of dropped into conversation a little something, and Dan just instantly turns into me. Yeah. And he just like reels it all off, and it's fab. Because then I'll walk in like the shop and somebody will say, "Oh, did Dan tell you?" And I'm like, "I haven't got a clue." So,
yeah, it was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it's great. I enjoy it.
Just in terms of what Delilah accesses from Grace House, tell me a little bit about the services.
So Delilah accesses the summer. In the summer, we take her along to the craft sessions and the fetes and any of the organisations, fundraising type of days, which obviously haven't really happened in the last year. But primarily, she's a proper crafty little child, and she loves to go along, and she loves talking to Chris and having a little natter with all of the staff, especially the other volunteers like Anne and things. She just loves to get involved and get stuck up, to be fair. And I think at some point when we do have to consider respite, it will be Grace House that we, you know, consider, because at the moment Delilah's supposed to have respite at home, but we don't have it. And we don't go out.
No.
Dan goes to work, and that's about it. But when we do look at it in the future, it will be Grace House that we'll be, you know, inquiring about, and maybe spending some more time in that with Delilah.
Brilliant. And the volunteering role, Tracy, how's that going?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I don't know if I love annoying Chris the most or the actual helping of families, but I think I enjoy sharing our story. Me and Dan's always been really open and honest, and there's kind of no holds barred.
There's no point not to be, is there, to be honest? I mean, you're aware of other people going through it. So you think, well, if I put my story up there, they'll just... It's like when you watch a TV program and you feel like you can relate to it. Yeah. I think people watching this now, if they're in a situation where they're not as far along as us, they'll go, you know, like they'll hopefully relate to what we're saying, and they'll know that they've been through the same or something similar, and that's like all about what I think Tracy tries to get out there all the time, isn't it? I mean, currently at the minute, she's got a blog on the Grace House website. I think it's like 70 parts or something, and it was just from the adopt to the sort of now, I guess. And hopefully people are following that and relating to that and saying, comparing our experience to theirs, and then hopefully getting on with it.
I've just put a link up there at the Grace House website, but just at the front of that though, just talk about making a donation. So, you know,
like, it's funny, you know, just drop it in there.
So if you went to the Grace House website, you've got a blog on there, Tracy, yeah?
Yeah. So I wrote a piece a while ago for another parent group that I was a part of. And it was just a short piece, but it was that idea that we can't expect others to come and seek help for their stories if we don't share our story. And it is that idea of, you know, it's telling somebody before they even get through the door that I've already been there, very tired. But if you need any help, this is the place to be. And I think when we had Delilah, there was this common sort of practice that happens where it's not as nasty, but here's your child, they have something wrong, here's a leaflet off your pop, let us know how you get on. And it's really difficult, but if they could relate every child, I'm sure they would. And if they could give every family the time that they could, they would, but they can't. They're busy professionals. But the idea that happens breaks my heart even now, because Delilah's almost 9 and that happened to us. So I'm trying to really start this ball rolling of, instead of here's a leaflet, off you go, it's here's an organisation, they're there to support you. If you need to chat, there's Tracey, she's been there, she's done it before. And to really start reassuring parents that they don't have to drop into a well and get to a crisis point before somebody picks them up, which has happened to a lot of us.
Brilliant. You know, I'm so glad you've shared a lot of these things today. I don't know whether you plan to share them, whether it's just come out as it does sometimes on live, you know. I love that. And Dan, you know, you've had your heart on your sleeve today, and I thank you so much for that. And if anyone is watching this, you know, please do share it, because you never know who's watching, and it might just change someone's lives. And I think that's your why now, you two. I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but it does feel like this is your journey now, and you want to share this and help others.
Yeah. One of the advantages of Tracey working with Grace House, and I'm incredibly proud of her for doing it, from where she was 5-6 years ago to where she is now, is I think parents find it easier to relate to other parents. Parents don't always want to talk to professionals because they feel it's impersonal. People want to talk to somebody who's gone through it before. Because a doctor can compare cases, where we can actually compare real life situations as to what's happened. And I think that's what part of Tracey's role is, and what she tries to reach out to a lot of parents lately. And as long as obviously keeping us all going as well. And like I said, I'm incredibly proud of her, and hope that she does well. And I know that she's got a lot of things that she wants to get over to Grace House, and a lot of ideas running in her head that hopefully will come to fruition sometime soon. And just get us out of this house. So stop doing this.
Well, it does sound like you've got lots of ideas and a lovely journey ahead. And, you know, you two, you're absolutely inspiring. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you this morning. And I'm sure you've got so much more inspiring to do along the next months, weeks, years. So thank you so much. I'm going to let you two go now. And, you know, thanks from Grace House as well.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Wow, there you go. That was so important to do. I don't really know what to say after that, to be honest. Just amazing, absolutely amazing. And, you know, jump on that blog as well. You know, if you are wanting to understand a little bit more about Tracey and Dan's journey, you know, Tracey said she's talking on the blog there on Grace House. So head over to that. Now I can see our next guest is sitting in the green room, and she's actually on brand as well. Green room, green blouse. Hello, Laura. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Have you been watching this morning?
I have, yes, and it has been inspiring. Listening to Dan and Tracey there was unbelievable. You know, and I have worked with many carers over this lockdown period, and can totally understand where they're coming from. When they explained how they feel, especially when they're trying to deal with professionals and want to talk to someone who is more on their level, if you know what I mean. So because some of the facilitation that I've done with carers, it's been more about them coming together and sharing their own feelings and thoughts and supporting each other, which has been amazing.
Thanks, Laura. I tell you what it is, let me give you a bit of an intro.
Okay.
For maybe the three people who don't know who you are, Laura, because you're a big deal in your space, I tell you, girl. You are a mindful coach. You practiced and studied mindful meditation over the past 7 years, and you coach carers at Grace House in both positive thinking and mindfulness. So, wow, that must be so rewarding. Mindfulness, it's a word now that I'm really pleased that it's kind of more so in the forefront. Can you summarize mindfulness for me?
Well, mindfulness is really being fully present in the now.
Okay.
It's focusing your attention on the now, where we tend to find our thoughts often, that takes us off to the past or worrying about what's coming next. And we lose, it kind of drags us away from the enjoyment of the present. And it just helps us stay calm. It really does help us stay calm, because the only place we can be is in the present. It's just our thoughts that seem to take us away from it. But we seem to be, engrossed, if you like, or taken over, or hijacked even by our thoughts. And it's incessant sometimes. And especially when we are feeling very vulnerable, or we've got lots of things going on, especially when you think of a carer who are caring for people, young people who are vulnerable and they need their support. So caring for their own needs is vitally important. So using mindfulness is a great way to allow them to stay calm and present when they're dealing with situations.
I've asked this question to a few people because I haven't. I'm really interested in this space. That was the best sentence I've ever heard, and it was drags away from the enjoyment of the present. I absolutely love that, and the penny dropped for me a bit there, because I think we're all especially now in this pandemic. I guess there's a lot of overthinking, dwelling. Tracey and Dan talked about Delilah there in terms of routine and stuff like that. We are humans. We need routine as well. Adults need routine. You break us out of that and it does become quite difficult. And we don't know, unfortunately, we can't control when we're going to go back to where we once were. And how have you saw an increase in people needing to be more mindful? Or I know the answer, but I want you to talk at us.
Well, yes, indeed. I think it's always been there. I think it's because, especially the last 20, 30 years, we've been so on this 24/7 life, especially since technology came along, because when we're on computers, everything happens fast. So the brain has suddenly started becoming faster. But the body can't do it. The body's listening to the brain all the time, and it just becomes stressed. Our body becomes stressed. But the brain thinks it can do all these things, so we're encouraged to be multi-skilled, doing multitasks. But the body likes to do one thing at a time, and so when it's trying to do too many things, it's losing energy. It's diluting the energy that we have in the present moment. So for me, especially this last year, naturally it has, because people have been so used to being on autopilot, I guess, living a life a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's changed. And I think especially for carers with children with disability, because a lot of children like set routines, they like to keep everything the same. And when we're asking, for a child or someone who doesn't kind of comprehend that these changes are happening, it can be quite daunting and frightening. So a parent or a carer being able to sustain themselves and be present and calm is so beneficial to their children during this time.
I'm going to ask you, so I'm hugging way too many trees. I've said this a few times on my lives, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's a time of my life or whatever. To be mindful, do you need to be that type of spiritual person, or that person who's interested in? Who should be mindful? Everybody?
Well, yeah, everybody. And you don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to, sit in the lotus position and meditate every day. But it's about being consciously aware, actually having intention and purpose in what we're doing as we're doing it. And when I've been facilitating some sessions, a lot of people are quite happy to just say, you know what, I just want to do the dishes. But I tend to find that my mind is thinking about the next thing I've got to do. And before I know it, I've got monkey mind. I mean, you might know, Ian, yourself. It's like, how often have you run upstairs and forgotten what you went for?
Stop picking on me. You know I'm hopeless like that.
But it's true, isn't it? We run up the stairs and then we go, oh, can't remember. And then people think they've got a bad memory, but really it's because the mind has become such a habit of having the next thought and then the next thought. So it's like monkey mind, jumping around from thought branch to thought branch. And, you know, we kind of like lose the present, and then we lose in time, because so many people say, I don't know how many times I'll search for the phone only to find it's in my hand. Do you know what I mean? Because their mind is so ahead. They're so ahead of themselves. So it's to bring, and anxiety does that. I think it makes us impatient, and impatience actually creates anxiety. And because we live in a time of speed, it's vitally important we slow down, really slow down what we're doing, so we can notice what's happening as it's happening and respond to it rather than react to situations. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And there was 2 words you said as you were talking. You said intention and purpose. And I want to drill into what you mean by that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times where we do things automatically. We go on autopilot, and we get up in the morning and we do the, you know, people have said, I feel like I'm on Groundhog Day, especially during lockdown. It's like, oh, it's the same day with same things all the time. So we end up on autopilot, and so we end up just being reactors. And until we pause and reflect, we think, did I intend to do that? Or is it just, you know, did I end up just going down that route because it's what I automatically do? So until we actually slow down and pay attention, we will never be intentional and purposeful. And we all need a purpose. Everyone needs a purpose. You know, it's what gets us up in the morning. But it's knowing what our purpose is. And at the moment for carers, naturally, their purpose is caring for others. But what was vitally important during some of the sessions I ran is that their purpose also needed to care for themselves, because they realised how important their health is. And I'll give you an example. There was one lady whose son has got cerebral palsy, and she reminded herself, well, actually, if I don't take care of my health and build flexibility and strength in me, I'm not going to be able to carry him when he's older. I'm not going to be able to pick him up. You know, so she's now become very aware of the needs for herself, so she can continue of being of support to her son. And I thought that was marvellous, that she should come to that awareness herself, because so many carers are so focused on caring for others, they do tend to neglect themselves.
That's so powerful. Thanks for sharing that, Laura. I thought in my mind about that aircraft analogy where they say put your oxygen mask on first before somebody else and stuff. It's like actually not even putting your mask on at all, is it? You know, not caring for yourself at all. And there'll come a point where something's going to actually have to stop, isn't it, if you're not doing that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're so right about that analogy. So many people use it, but you're right. It's like often we tend to put the masks on everybody else and then we collapse, if you like. So maintaining our own strength is hugely important. But you have to raise awareness, because a lot of the time when people are on autopilot, they don't even know they're doing it. It's like subconscious. It becomes a subconscious habit that we find ourselves in. And so being more aware, being more mindful, being more present kind of slows us down. We back up and we notice what's going on. And then we can change direction if we have to, or get up. Well, people say it's like being on an express train. We've got to get off at a station sometime and restore our energy, you know, because our energy's all over the place, but we have to restore our energy if we're going to continue helping others. There's a true saying, you can't fill from an empty vessel, and it's so true. If we don't keep restoring ourselves, we won't be able to do what we do.
It's so right. And, you know, I think someone like yourself as well needs to fill their own cup. I do as well. I deliver quite a lot of training and things like that, and I need to fill mine because my energy is always out there. And, you know, I'm rubbish unless I run. Because you mentioned there about kind of washing the dishes, you know, and switching off or peeling the spuds or whatever. For me, it's running. If I don't run, I'm all, you know, I need to calm. And even though you're not calm, it's my meditation thing. So what kind of techniques do you propose people do? Is it different every time for each individual, Laura?
Well, yeah, we do explore different techniques because everybody is different. What works for one person won't work for another. So we explore, sitting meditation. Well, formal meditation is like a sitting meditation where you do literally sit for even just 10 minutes. But it's not about pushing your thoughts away because that's impossible. It's allowing them, but they're refocusing your attention. And this could be on your breathing. So you can use your breath as an anchor to keep you grounded. Or you can focus your attention on a sound, and especially in nature. When you're out in nature, it's perfect to allow yourself to connect with nature and stay present and be aware and taking in deep breaths. People actually have admitted they don't breathe very well. They've forgotten how to breathe, like belly breathe, because belly breathing activates the vagus nerve in our system, which sends a message to the brain to say, calm down, chill, all is well. But a lot of people have turned into chest breathers because of anxiety, and that can cause us to shallow breathe. So we're not activating that nerve. So if we're not activating it, then we can't calm ourselves down naturally. So retraining ourselves to belly breathe is a really good technique to bring us into the present and calm ourselves down. And then it kind of prevents us from staying in what's called a stress state, which is survival mode. Because when we do it, when we are in survival mode, our body gets filled with cortisol. So we're ready to either go into fight, flight, freeze. But by practicing meditation, by belly breathing, we can interrupt it and then break that cycle, if you like, of staying in that survival mode.
Now, all the people who are watching live, all the people who are watching catch up, and your friends sitting here, my breathing's all over the shop right now, because as soon as you start talking about belly breathing and chest breathing, I'm literally now thinking, how am I breathing? How am I breathing? So help. I want you to help us right now. Can you take us through something? Can we do something now?
Yes, of course we can do something now. Obviously, I'm conscious of time, so I haven't got very long.
Let's do something.
But we can do a 3-minute breathing space, if you like. We can do a 3-minute breathing space. It doesn't take very long, and it can be done anywhere. That's the beauty of this. You could, whether you're just going to make yourself a cup of tea or you're just sitting outside for 5 minutes, whatever it is, because nobody knows what you're doing, only you. So you're taking control of your thoughts, of your feelings, and just by raising awareness of where you are. So what I'm going to do is I've actually got one of these. It's called a 3-minute egg timer. And I tend to use as a gear just to get us off technology, because we're so connected to technology at the moment. So anything you can use to get us off technology is great. So what we can do is with this, with the 3-minute breathing space, it's an opportunity to broaden our awareness. So just let go of thoughts by focusing on what's going on around us. Then we're going to narrow our awareness by focusing on our breathing. And then broaden our awareness again by including the whole body and getting a sense of ourselves and grounding ourselves in the present moment. So I'll invite you, Ian, and everybody else that's watching, to just sit comfortably and with your back straight. So, imagine you're dignified and you're sitting on your throne, very comfy, okay? And I'll invite you to take part in this 3-minute breathing space. So if you just keep your eyes open for now, and I'll just turn the timer. And I just want to invite you now to notice what's going on around you right now. Now, take in all the surrounding areas. So if you open your eyes again and look around, you're not trying to judge anything or label anything. Just become aware of your surroundings. Maybe noticing the sights, the sounds, any smells. So you're really connecting with your senses right here in the present moment. If you notice you start thinking or judging, just let that go and just refocus your attention on noticing what's going on around you. Just noticing any smells, not trying to label, just being with what is around you. And now what I'd like to do is ask you to close your eyes, and I'll invite you to focus on your breathing. So just noticing each in-breath and out-breath. Just breathing in and breathing out. Just noticing how the body rises and falls with each in-breath and out-breath. And what I'd like you to do is think of a word as you're breathing in that calms you. So you could breathe in peacefulness or calm. And when you breathe out, imagine what you'd like to reflect out when you breathe out onto others. So this could be breathing out compassion or kindness, but it has to be your word. So just you think of a word that soothes you and comforts you while you breathe in and while you breathe out. And now what I'd like to ask you is to broaden your awareness and encompass the whole of your body. So imagine cradling the whole of your body in awareness. Just noticing how the body feels right now in the present moment. Becoming aware of any movements, any sensations. Just being with what is and how you're feeling. Imagining your mind is settled in the body. Your body's settled on the chair. And you're being supported by the ground. So just being with what is in the present moment.
Do I have to wake up now?
if you really want to, yes.
Wow. I love that word thing about our positivity. I was trying to irradiate positivity. Is that the kind of thing you were thinking of?
Yeah, absolutely. So what did you take in for yourself?
What do you mean?
So when you breathe in, you thought of a word that you wanted to breathe in.
It was my daughter's name.
Yourself.
It's my daughter's name.
Oh, sweet. Okay, that's really nice.
I hope my son's not watching though.
Favoritism.
Well, I guess there's a daddy-daughter bond there, but yeah, it is common because I think about her and her nature. So yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
And it was 3 minutes. It was no time
actually.
at all, 3 minutes. And you can do that any time of the day, and especially if you suddenly feel overwhelmed. When there's something going on, you're feeling a little anxious, a little overwhelmed. Just take that time, and it can be, as I say, it can be done anywhere.
Anywhere, even washing the dishes, apparently, according to Rachel there. She does the belly breathing thing. Tell us a little bit about the belly breathing then, because you mentioned about we use our chests. How do you...
Yeah, well, belly breathing really it's our natural breath. If when we look at very, very small babies, we notice the whole body breathes. It is our natural breathing. But what happens is as we grow and we experience situations in life, and especially if it creates anxiety, we become shallow breathers. So we are not taking in as much oxygen. So basically what it is, with belly breathing, it's just noticing how the body expands with each in-breath. Because I remember when I was young, and my mum used to say to me, breathe in. And of course, being a girl, I used to suck my tummy in. I used to think, I was meant to breathe in. But no, I confused everything, got all wrong. When you breathe in, you've got to act like a balloon. So when you're taking oxygen in, you want your body to expand. So if you imagine your lungs are really filling up with a breath. And then what happens is the lungs press down on the diaphragm, which presses and pushes out the belly. Now, when the belly pushes out, it touches the vagus nerve, which sends a message to the brain to say, it's okay, chill, all is well, it's fine, you know. But in a lot of cases, but especially when we're in panic mode, we forget to do it. We literally our mind goes blank and we end up in this survival mode, which is fight, flight, freeze. So being aware that we can take control, we can actually do this. So if I ask you now to just sit and notice, you put your hand on your chest, put your hands on your belly and just notice, first of all, before we attempt belly breathing, just notice which hand is moving. Is it your chest? Is it the one on your chest or is it the one on your belly? Or is it both?
Both, yeah.
Both. Well, if it's both, it generally means you are a belly breather. Okay, but what you can do just to practice is a way of calming ourselves down. If you just give yourself opportunity to sit now, don't go too mad that we end up getting a bit too lightheaded and we fall off our chairs. But it's about taking a breath in. So really take a deep breath in. Notice the body expanding and then relax. Now, if you just do that 2 or 3 times, and you will notice you suddenly start to feel calmer, much more relaxed. And even get in the habit of doing that every year or every situation we find ourselves in, eventually with practice, it will return, that natural breathing will return to us and we'll be able to cope with things on a daily basis with ease.
Laura, some of those techniques you shared with, is this what your role at Grace House? Do you meet parents or how does it work? What do you do?
Well, yeah, well, it was very kind of, I have to say, Lynn and Chris, and I have to say, Chris, that was really kind of you, the words that you said earlier, and I'm really sad to hear that you're retiring, but I do wish you every success in whatever you choose to be in the future. It's been great getting to know you. And the lovely Lynn has been helping me facilitate sessions within Grace House to parents and carers. And the purpose is, well, first of all, we've been doing it on Zoom during lockdown. And it really has been giving people an opportunity to have a bit of a retreat, if you like, an hour of just being able to relax, learn techniques to stay calm. And I know I'll give you an example, going back to a bit of what Dan and Tracey said earlier. One lady said when she needed to stay calm was when she was dealing with phone calls, because when lockdown started, she felt like she was being kept on hold. There wasn't so many staff around to help, whether it's social service or the hospitals. There was so much going on, and it was causing her some great anxiety. And of course, she was losing her temper, so she couldn't hear properly because she was in this panic mode, this situation. So using mindfulness and the practice of the belly breathing really helped her to stay together, if you like, and be able to listen better when she was talking on the phone and listening to guidance and help that was coming towards her. Because ordinarily she would just, her mind would just go into panic mode and she just couldn't communicate as well. So this is where practicing the whether it's belly breathing, meditation, mindful routine, because the activities are literally, like I said, just doing the dishes, brushing your teeth, driving the car. I mean, so many people say, yeah, no, I go in the car, and I didn't even remember the journey. It was like I got from A to B and my mind was just thinking the whole time. And you think, really? You weren't present when you were driving the car? But this is what we're like. And so being fully present really helps us stay calm in situations, especially new situations that are coming towards us, and we're able to greet them much more peacefully and calmly and respond to them rather than automatically react to them. So
these activities, then, they don't take up too much time of the day. You don't have to be doing it all day, every day, just now and again.
No. Well, what I recommend people do initially is do a 10-minute formal meditation. Now, if anyone's got Netflix, I have to tell you, Headspace has actually got a 6-week episode on at the moment of mindfulness. And I've watched it and other people have watched it. It's really, really good. So if you've got Netflix, please key in Headspace and try them out. They are very helpful. But you can also go on YouTube and just go on YouTube and just key in 10-minute meditation. There is loads of different sitting meditations, body scans, so many different techniques you can use. Finding one, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't like that voice, but I like that voice, So it's finding someone that you connect with and you can go through the practice with is wonderful. I also recommend choosing just one routine activity, just one, during the day. So if it is brushing your teeth, it means just for that 2 minutes when you're brushing your teeth, you focus totally on your senses, because you can't think and sense at the same time. I don't know whether you're aware of that, Ian, but you just kind of do it. So when people focus on their senses, so it's, imagine the sensation of the brush, the taste of the toothpaste, the smells, just staying with the activity. And if they notice the mind wanders into thinking, just notice it's happening and come back to the present and focusing back on your senses and being with what you're doing. Okay. The other thing I recommend at the end of the day, especially just before bed, is writing 3 positives from your day. Because the mind tends to err on the negative, especially when we've had a stressful day. So, getting the brain to search for the good can be very helpful in creating a balanced outlook, if you like, of life. And also it helps when we go to sleep. It's kind of going to sleep with positive thoughts in our mind rather than the worries of what's happened or what's coming the next day. So it does ease with sleep. And these can be simple positive thoughts, very easy ones. It could be, gosh, that meal I made today was delicious, or, I was expecting a bad call, but it ended up being a good call from someone, or I heard from a friend I haven't seen in ages. There could be very simple positives, but the purpose of it is to get the brain to search for the good. So again, creating balance in our mind.
I'm smiling away here. You're just dropping these value bombs. Like it's just, getting the brain to search for the good. I love that. Absolutely love that. Before you leave us, some of the things you've been doing at Grace House, what's been the feedback, Laura? What did they say about what you do?
Well, it's been really favourable. Thank you. It's I think the majority have said the biggest thing I would say that's come back is letting go of guilt. It seems to be a theme that runs through a lot of carers, and when we talk about self-care, it's like they feel guilty of seeing to their own needs because they've got to see to others and putting people first all the time. And it's a valuable role, but equally taking care of their own needs with what they've identified as clearly valuable too. So it's creating a balanced reflection, and for them to notice that they don't need to feel guilty. Because guilt, it kind of, the feeling of guilt can also make us feel angry and resentful, which is not a pleasant feeling within ourselves. Because as carers and as humans in general, we are naturally kind, compassionate, and loving people. But it's just the incessant thoughts that obscures that feeling. So again, coming back to meditation really does help create a gap in the thinking to allow us to stay calm, let go of those negative thoughts and feelings, and connect to our compassionate sides. But that has been the biggest thing, is letting go of guilt being huge.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing that. You've got some love here coming in, Laura. Look, thanks for working with us. There's our Cheryl there. This is so true. Took me a long time to make myself ill to see that my health and well-being is the best gift I can give to my family. Love that. Thank you, Cheryl. Totally agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
Laura, I've loved that. You've just dropped them little bits of gold in there as if it was just water for duck's back. So thank you so much. I might actually watch that back again and do more of that breathing. You've inspired me. And I tell you what you did. Is a lovely segue into our next guest. What you said was writing down 3 positives.
Absolutely.
because our Steve is going to talk a little bit about that. So, Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope to see you in person one day.
Yeah, hopefully. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for having me on today. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
And thank you. And thank you to Grace House. Thank you so much for everything you do for parents and carers. Thank you. Thoroughly
agree. There you go. That was our Laura. Well, I hope you're still with us. I hope you haven't drifted off to sleep, because I was almost away then. I forgot what my job was supposed to be there. So let's bring in our Steve. Steve, good. I nearly said good morning, but it's actually just turned noon. Good afternoon, my friend.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ian. Great to be here.
Did you do a little bit of breathing there?
Actually, I did a journaling course yesterday where I was looking at mindfulness and journaling, and I actually almost fell asleep. I was leading the course.
Well, you're not falling asleep. We've got you for half an hour, and this has been so lovely this morning. We've had it's like an emotional roller coaster. We've heard from lots of different people on lots of different subjects, and we've left you till the end, Steve. No pressure, okay? You know what they say about the best to last. I loved what Laura said there about writing things down for the positive, and I also loved what you said there about taking time to look after yourself. And I think a lot of us are very busy in our day-to-day lives, and the first thing that I would immediately think of is journaling. Whoa, I'm too busy for that. When am I going to do that? So what is journaling? Let's just go right back to the basics. What's journaling all about, Steve?
Okay. Well, journaling very simply is committing your thoughts to paper. And quite often put off by doing that because they think that they've got to write lots. And so many people have the idea, I'd like to journal. I've heard that it'd be good for me, but they just never get started. And so the basic starting point for journaling is you can start with 5 minutes a day. So if you can embrace that idea and spend 5 minutes either in the morning or in the evening or at any point during the day that suits you, then that would get you started journaling. And when it comes to journaling, you can write absolutely anything you want to write down. I noticed that the previous guest talked about the gratitude writing, the 3 bullet points in the evening, and that's an example of gratitude journaling. And you can create your own 3 bullet points on a blank piece of paper, or you can obtain books like this. This is the gratitude journal, which can help you. So if you're struggling to think, what am I going to write and so on, then a gratitude journal that you buy has lots of prompts and will take you in lots of different directions in terms of gratitude. So you have a choice. You can start yourself with a blank piece of paper and a pen, or you can buy a journal, and that will help you to think about different things.
I've just wrote that down there, gratitude journal. It's getting late. It's been a couple hours since. My little girl, I mentioned a few times, she's 12, and I think a lot of people are going through this pandemic right now. The routine is so out of whack, and then it's apparently half term. I didn't even realize that. Homeschooling and everything. And I think that would be amazing for Jess to just write down things, because we are quite divisive. We're sitting with our devices, lots of thoughts and everything hitting us. Actually just taking time to stop and write things down is so powerful. So is that a link to mindfulness as well, Steve?
It's most definitely a link to mindfulness. And I did a journaling session yesterday for Sunderland Library Service on journaling and mindfulness. And one of the pieces of feedback I got after the session had finished was that somebody had confided that at night they scrolled through Twitter, and it kept them up into the small hours of the morning. It disturbed their sleep. But then the next day they were out of sorts with themselves, and because of what they'd learned yesterday on the mindful journaling course, they decided that they were going to, in a sense, take a digital detox. And instead of picking up their phone and scrolling through Twitter, they were going to pick up their journal and journal mindfully and bring their day to a close in a mindful way. So yes, it's very, very closely linked. Journaling and mindfulness go hand in hand. You talked about children and about half term, whether this can be done with children, and the short answer is most definitely. There's a journal you can buy called the Happy Self Journal, and it's specifically designed for children, and it's got all sorts of emojis and spaces to write and spaces to draw, and gives the children opportunities to journal using pictures, using emojis and using words. It has bullet points and prompts and quotations, and so it's a great way to encourage children to journal. It's a beautiful book. It's printed in a yellow hardcover, so it's very inviting, and I've seen children use that. There are other examples, of course, that you can buy, but that's a popular one.
Steve, how on earth did you get into journaling then? Where did this start from? What passion? What are you a writer? How?
Well, it came from many directions. I'm a teacher, and I've been teaching for 40 years, and I'm a writer, and I've published, although not novels, I've published textbooks for university students and so on, and teachers. But all of those experiences came to a head in 2019 when I featured in this brochure, and I was invited to contribute to the Literature Festival for Sunderland in October 2019, and I could write. I was invited to do anything I wanted, and I thought, I've wanted to talk about journaling for a long time, and I've wanted to share my experiences of journaling. This is a great opportunity. And so I put myself forward for a 1-hour session on journaling. And I appeared in here and had a fantastic, you can just about see it there, Journaling for Wellbeing with Steve Watts. I had a fantastic hour in a dusty old theatre somewhere just outside Hendon, which I'd never been to before or heard of. And I had a tremendous time, lots of positive feedback. And because the library had organized the event, there was a librarian there who came to introduce me and just kind of host the hour. And she went back to the library service and said, this was so good, we have to ask Steve if he'll turn the 1 hour into a course. And so I received the invitation and did that, and been doing it ever since. That's how I sort of got started on the circuit. Prior to that, it was just private journaling. But I'm so happy that I've been able to share my experiences and my understanding of journaling, because the people that I've worked with at Grace House and other places, the feedback's been absolutely tremendous.
about a course there, Steve. So what does a course look? Well, an hour course? How can you fill an hour? Go on, give me. You're laughing because you know it well. Just pick up a pen and write stuff. Go on, give me some tips. What does that course look like?
Okay, well, I've just finished a 5-week course yesterday for Sunderland Libraries, and it was an introductory course to journaling, and it was 5 1-hour sessions on a Thursday. And quite simply, I introduced different ways to journal, with the intention that something somewhere might connect with somebody. So there isn't just one way to journal. There are lots of different ways to journal and lots of different things you can write about. And my aim was to, in a sense, open the doors and let people see that you can journal in many ways, and that hopefully the course participants would connect with one of those, or perhaps mix and match. So we talked about morning journaling, which, no surprise, is very unpopular. People just haven't got the headspace in the morning to journal. 1 or 2 people do. Evening journaling, gratitude journaling, mindful journaling, and so on. So, and then between the weeks, the participants would practice. So if it was morning journaling, they would have a go at it, even though they hated it. Then they would come back the next week and they would share their experiences of journaling, the barriers and obstacles that they experienced, and the benefits that they felt. So that was an introductory course that just kind of opened the doors on journaling, and I hope busted some of the myths about needing a fancy fountain pen, cartridge paper, and a leather bound journal. You can journal on the back of a cornflake packet if you want.
That's really interesting about the morning thing. So do you say to people, just try it? Give me 7 of your mornings and see what happens. Try it. And you never know what might happen. Yeah?
Yes. I encourage the participants, whatever I'm sharing on that particular day, I say give it a go for 7 days and report back next week, and we'll share our experiences. For some people, they do it. For other people, just didn't fit into their lifestyle or their mindset, or So yes, everyone has a go at practicing. Yeah.
What about your experience at Grace House then, Steve? What do you do for? Is it our families, or how does it work?
Yeah. With Grace House, I'm working with the parents of the families, and I delivered my 6-week course last summer. It began last spring really. It began meeting at Grace House with people who were interested in finding out about journaling, but then of course lockdown came halfway through, and so we switched to Zoom, and we had just as much fun on Zoom as we did meeting at Grace House. And when the 5 weeks came to an end, and we were all locked down, and people were a bit sad about it ending, I decided to keep going, and I never stopped. I kept going every week, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Turned up on Zoom with anybody who wanted to join me, and we just explored lots and lots and lots of different ways of journaling and comparing experiences, sharing ideas, and so on. And some amazing things came out of it. One of them was that when we looked at gratitude journaling, one of the parents decided that they were going to do gratitude talking. Now, this isn't quite journaling, but it's taking an idea from journaling and extending it into your wider family life. What happened was that every tea time, she would sit down at the tea table with her husband and her 3 children, and she would ask each of them what they were grateful for. And she found that the 3 kids were very good at coming up with things that they were grateful for. They didn't copy each other, they all had their own ideas. And this became a family routine. So what she was doing was she was introducing kind of a positive mindset. Let's think gratefully, let's think thankfully, and let's appreciate what we've got and what's happened to us. So that was an idea which she'd taken from the journaling course and extended it into the wider family. So everybody, it wasn't just this particular parent privately journaling gratitude. This was embracing everybody in the entire family, all engaging in it. And I was delighted about that.
I love that. I want more.
Yes.
More impact.
Right.
Give me some. I think it's really good, to shape some stuff around context and stories and the impact it has. Yeah. So have you got anything else you could share in terms of you've been delivering these courses? What's been the feedback, Steve?
Another member of the group decided that they were going to do both morning and evening journals. And they explained that the reason why. So they tried morning journals, then they tried evening journals, and they thought they were both a good idea and didn't want to decide between one or the other. Why can't I do both? So she did. And what she said about the morning journal was that the morning journal gave her day a frame, a purpose. And so in her morning journal, she outlined what she'd like to do in the day, what she'd like to achieve, what she was thinking about and excited about, what she was perhaps apprehensive about. And that helped set her up for the day. Then in the evening, she used to sit down at the end of the day and review how her day had gone. And she used a lovely phrase to describe the evening journaling, where she talked about she wanted the day to end well. Those are her words. I wanted the day to end well. And so she would pull her thoughts and experiences of the day together and commit them into her journal, and she would end on a high note. And so her journaling practice had effectively bookended the day, with her goals in the morning and her reflections in the evening. But it was that phrase, I wanted the day to end well, that I really loved.
You mentioned there about reflection. Do people look back in their journal, Steve, maybe weeks, months, years, possibly, and recall, or is that a thing?
Definitely, because another one of the course participants from Grace House had talked about feeling very negative, and she'd been journaling for the 5 weeks, and she decided to look back over the 5 weeks and see what had happened, what journey she'd come on. And she was amazed, absolutely amazed by how she'd changed. The whole mindset had changed, and she'd gone from being this very negative person to somebody who was much more positive and upbeat and much happier. And that was her testimony, and that was because she'd looked back on what she'd written. She could see the journey she'd been on, and that's a very powerful part of journaling.
Incredibly powerful.
Yes.
In terms of journaling itself, like crazy question, is there a link between writing things down with a pen and paper as opposed to kind of typing into your phone?
Yes, there is. Everybody who talks about journaling does advise pen or pencil and paper, because it's the physical act of committing something, and the flow from your brain through your arm into your hand and onto the paper. So there's a flow and there's a connection that you don't get with a keyboard, whether it's on a computer or a tablet or a phone. Having said that, you can buy journaling apps. So you can download them on your phone, and if that works for you, then there's absolutely no reason why you can't journal using an app or journal using a laptop or a desktop. So yes, people do journal electronically like that, but the advice is to get that connection between your brain and the paper, and that creates the flow and outcomes what it is you wanted to get out of your system. Yeah.
Brilliant. That reminds me about what Laura said just before there about the kind of physical turning of an egg timer rather than using technology.
Yes.
What I'd love to see is a blog, because we've got a website. Okay.
Right.
Have you, is there any blogs or anything on Grace House? You might want to do a blog about some journaling tips, possibly?
Yes, very happy to do that. I do write blogs on my website about journaling, but I'm experienced at that, but I'm happy to write a blog for Grace House. I'd love to do that, yes.
Because you love Grace House. So what 1 to 10, how much you love Grace House, Steve?
10 plus.
Excellent stuff. So, and how much do Grace House love Steve? You know, what kind of feedback have you had from some of the families then?
I've had incredible feedback. One participant said that it had been so therapeutic, that it helped her mentally. Other people have said, we talked about before, about being able to frame their day. So they've had structure in the day. And this is particularly important because I was doing this during lockdown and homeschooling and home working, where all your structure's out the window. You're trying to homework for yourself, for your employer, with your kids next to you trying to do homeschooling. And you're not allowed out. You can't go anywhere. And the structure's just gone. And she felt that the journaling course came just at the right time, because I introduced the possibility of being able to give your day some structure. And so for her, that was the best part of the course, getting the structure. Yeah. Excellent.
One little thing before you go, you touched upon sketching or drawing, I think I heard you say.
Yes, yeah. That is a part of journaling that I've been exploring with Grace House over the last summer. You know, when I said I just kept going and didn't stop.
Yeah.
So I delivered the 5-week course, and I should have ended, but I just kept going. And what I was doing with the participants from Grace House was I was just exploring ideas and thoughts and getting their reactions. And one of the things that we talked about was a holiday journal. And somebody went off on holiday once the lockdown had eased at the end of the summer to keep a holiday journal, where that could become a scrapbook, a place to record memories, a place to keep mementos. And so that was one example of a type of journal. Another one is doing sketches, drawings, to reflect your mood. Some people draw emojis. They don't write, I feel sad today. They just draw a sad face. And that for them captures their feelings. So there are as many ways to journal as there are ways that we can imagine. And drawing is one of them.
Excellent stuff. I'm going to do the sitting around the table, give me 3 things thing with my kids. I'm going to do that. I love that. And I'm sure there's been a few bits and bobs that people have took out of this interview. I'm sure you're going to be inspiring people, even if it is just like what Laura mentioned as well, that you both suggest is writing 3 positives down at the end of the day. I mean, that's a great start, isn't it?
It is. Yes.
Would that be your kind of my first comment was, I'm really too busy for this. Would that be your kind of starter point?
That would be exactly my starting point and my advice.
Yeah.
Take a piece of paper, draw 3 bullet points, and write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And that will take you less than 5 minutes. And if you do that day after day after day, you begin to develop a more positive mindset. And after that, your world changes. And it's as simple as 3 bullet points a day, less than 5 minutes, and you can change your world. Definitely.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I'm grateful for, Steve, is your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. That's been amazing. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share?
Not particularly, other than just do it. Just start.
Yes.
Yes. Just start, and you'll find very quickly that things will change. Yeah, just start.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, don't put off. Get started.
It's only 3 words or 3 sentences. Get it done. Yeah, agreed.
There is one more thing that my journaling course is available through Grace House. So any member of staff or any service user who wants to follow the course can follow it online. It's a self-study version of the taught course that I taught last summer. So I turned it into a self-study. And that means that you can study it at any time, anywhere at any time, yourself. And so contact Grace House. Lynn Colleen is the person who will give you access to that course. So get in touch with Lynn and she can give you access to it, and it's free.
Oh, fantastic.
Did we see was there some feedback there?
You did. You had a lovely testimonial from Tracey there.
Oh,
You've inspired
right,
her. She's starting writing. Great. Yeah. Sonia as well. Well said, Stephen. Yeah. Yes, you see, you have inspired many.
Excellent. Yeah.
Wonderful stuff, my friend.
Yeah, excellent.
Right, Steve. Lovely of you to join us. Thank you so much, and make it a great weekend.
You too, and thanks for the invitation, and thanks to everybody at Grace House who's supported me. It's been great fun the last 12 months.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. That was our final speaker today. How good has this morning been? Absolutely fantastic. I think we need to bring our Laura back in to get Laura's point of view. Come on, Laura.
Hello.
Hey, how was that?
Wow. What a just roller coaster of emotion and support. And that's been an incredible session. I've loved it. I've been sat here glued to my screen, reading the comments, listening to you guys. It's been amazing. Me
too. I took so much from it. I feel really inspired to do loads of stuff. I want to go. My first thing is to watch that again.
Yeah.
Or bits of it, and I know there will be people now watching on catch up. Thanks so much for jumping on it and watching. And you might have skipped bits and bobs or whatever little section was good for you. There's loads. I really do encourage you to watch it all back, and please share it. Laura's job is hard. The team's job is hard to get out there and tell people what Grace House does, let other people access the services. So just by sharing this out, I'm sure you can help people. And of course, I did throw that banner up now and again, didn't I? Just about potentially like donating and stuff.
Yeah, you did. I think you're great. I'm going to hire you as my assistant. Really brilliant.
I'd love that. That.
I just want to say a couple of things as well. Just to finish off. I hope that's explained the breadth of support that we offer at Grace House. And you picked up on it perfectly there, saying that people might dip into one thing, and one thing might connect and resonate with someone, and something else might not. And that's what Grace House is. You don't have to access all of our services. You can pick and choose. You can see what works for you. Some people don't resonate with counselling, but mindfulness might be for them. Some people, so it is. There's so much going on, and please do just reach out if you are wanting to talk to somebody. Just contact us. And that was what Steve said. Just start, just make contact, and we'll be here for you.
Fantastic. Well said, Laura. That's amazing. I'm just looking there. Darren's just decided that maybe some car magnets. Now, Darren, if you suggest things, you've got to help out and do that. So Darren's going to organise those. We'll volunteer, Darren.
Brilliant. Are you volunteering to have them on your cars, Ian?
Of course. I love you. I love Grace House. I love everything about you guys. I'm going to get a T-shirt printed in the morning as well.
Awesome.
Right then, shall we go and have some lunch?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go and have some lunch and then potentially watch this back again. That's my day.
Really good. Really good. Yeah. Me too. It's been great.
Yeah.
So let's thank everyone. Thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for commenting. It's been really good to watch all the comments rolling in. Been really inspiring. Thanks, Simon. You got a name check earlier on. Thanks for everything you do, Simon. It's been so good to watch everyone, all the engagement. I love it. So if you are watching back on catch up, don't worry, still leave a comment, and Laura and I will probably jump on it and see it. And if there's any questions, I'm sure the team will pick up on the comments on the social media feed.
Definitely. And finally, just a big thank you to you, Ian, for hosting this. It's been fab. So thank you for taking the time to do that, and obviously for organising everything. And just a big shout out to the Grace House team, who are amazing.
Great stuff. Right. Well, let Laura know if we should do this again.
Should we do it again?
Should we do it again? Well, let the viewers determine that.
Excellent.
Okay, Laura, I'll see you very soon, and thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks now.